Ari couldn't remember the moment the game appeared, and that was the first thing that felt wrong. Not surprising, wrong. Like trying to recall a dream that slipped away the second you woke up, leaving only a vague unease behind. His phone had always been predictable, neatly organized, nothing out of place. But now there it was, an app he had never seen, sitting comfortably among everything familiar, as if it had always belonged. The icon was simple, almost forgettable, yet the longer he stared at it, the more it seemed to stare back. When he opened it, the world inside wasn't random or abstract, it was his world. His street. His house. His reality, duplicated with quiet precision. Finding the difference felt easy at first, almost satisfying. A small change, harmless, insignificant. But when the real world shifted to match what he selected, something inside him tightened. It wasn't fear yet. Not quite. It was the realization that something had just responded to him, and it shouldn't have. The game didn't feel like entertainment anymore. It felt like a test Ari didn't remember signing up for. Each level reflected something closer, more personal, more invasive. His classroom. His daily life. The people he trusted. When he spotted the difference between two versions of Lila, one warm, one distant, he didn't expect the outcome to follow him into the next day. But it did. Subtle at first, like a tone shift in a familiar voice. Then deeper, more unsettling. Lila's hesitation, the way her eyes lingered as if searching for something missing, something she couldn't name. Ari began to understand that the game wasn't just copying reality, it was rewriting it. Quietly. Precisely. And the worst part wasn't that things were changing. It was that everyone else accepted those changes as if nothing had ever been different. As if Ari was the only one who remembered the version of the world that no longer existed. There were rules, but no one explained them. Ari had to learn by watching, by noticing, by surviving each choice he made. Every level forced him to decide quickly, under pressure, before the timer reached zero. And every mistake came with a cost he couldn't predict. The world began to feel unstable, like it was balancing on something fragile. A missing street lamp became a pocket of darkness that didn't behave like normal shadow. It lingered too long, stretched too far, and felt too aware. Ari started to notice that the changes weren't just visual, they carried weight, presence, intention. The game wasn't just showing differences. It was introducing them. And whatever came through those differences didn't always belong. Ari's fear grew sharper, more focused. Because now he understood something crucial: if he stopped playing, the game wouldn't stop choosing for him. When Lila saw the game, everything shifted again, but this time, not just in the world. In Ari. Because she noticed something he hadn't. Something that had been hidden from him all along. The third image shouldn't have existed. The game had always been simple, two choices, one difference. But now there was more. A layer he hadn't been allowed to see. And in that hidden layer was something that didn't belong to either version of reality. A presence that felt wrong in a way that words couldn't fully capture. It wasn't just out of place, it was outside the rules entirely. The blurred figure sat where nothing should have been, its shape unstable, its existence uncertain. And yet it was waiting. When Ari selected it, it felt less like solving a puzzle and more like opening a door. Not to something new, but to something that had been waiting for permission to exist. Kieran didn't arrive with noise or disruption. He slipped into reality as if he had always been part of it. That was what made it worse. No confusion from others, no questions, no resistance. Just quiet acceptance. Lila spoke to him naturally, effortlessly, as if weeks of memories had been rewritten to include him. But Ari saw the truth. Not just because he remembered, but because Kieran didn't behave like someone new. He behaved like someone who understood the game. His presence was controlled, deliberate. Every glance, every word carried something beneath the surface. When he spoke, it wasn't casual, it was knowing. As if he had been watching Ari long before appearing. As if the game wasn't just something Ari had discovered, but something that had been guiding him toward this exact moment. By now, the world no longer felt solid. It felt layered, unstable, like multiple versions were pressing against each other, waiting to break through. The differences became harder to see, more abstract, more disturbing. Reflections no longer matched perfectly. Shadows moved without clear cause. Background figures lingered too long or disappeared too quickly. Ari realized that the game was no longer about obvious changes, it was about perception itself. About how much he could notice before it was too late. Kieran's presence grew stronger, more constant, appearing in places that should have been impossible. Reflections, corners, moments where reality thinned. And every time Ari hesitated, every time he doubted himself, the world shifted further away from what he remembered. Kieran's words echoed in his mind, not threatening, not urgent, but calm. Certain. As if this outcome had always been inevitable. The final choice didn't feel like a puzzle. It felt like a conclusion. The image was simple, but the weight behind it was overwhelming. Two versions of reality, separated by a single difference, but that difference carried everything. Ari understood now that the game had never been about winning or losing. It had been about selection. About deciding which version of the world would remain. And more importantly, who would remain in it. The timer counted down, but it no longer felt rushed. It felt final. Because deep down, Ari knew that whatever he chose wouldn't just change something small. It would decide who belonged, and who didn't. And somewhere behind him, just out of sight but impossible to ignore, something waited, perfectly still, perfectly certain, that it had already been chosen.